If you're a homeowner or a renter, occasionally you may be presented with problems like this. You got all this brush you got to get up, and all you got your own two little hands. As you see, one of them's engaged in holding the camera. I will show you an old trick I learned long ago on when you got a cart, brush, branches, trees, all that kind of mess. You got a pile like this, it's really a mess. And I need to cart it way on down there and put it in that hole way back over the fence. There's a big old pile. How do you go about doing it? I mean, you can sit there and walk every dang branch up and back and forth and walk 20 miles doing the job. Or do what I call, you build a cradle or drag for it with the branches you're using. Now, I went ahead and pulled out some. What you want to do, it's almost like building a stretcher out of nothing but branches. You start out, you get a branch that's kind of fanned out a little bit. You pick another one or two to throw up in there. Maybe even kind of hook them together if you can. You know, ain't no big need for that. And you keep piling branches on, orientating with all the ends on one end. What we'll end up doing, because I can't hold this and do it and build the stack, is I will build a pile a lot more than you can carry by hand or in a wheelbarrow or most garden wagons. Using that stick, those bottom two sticks, I'll be able to drag a whole bunch from one point to another relatively easily. Now, I'll get on to making the stack so you can see what it looked like if I had a helper. It'd be a lot better, but I don't. But as you go along, depending on the nature of the branch, you may want to tuck and weave it a little bit. Pressure of all the branches you put on this will tighten that weave to where you can just grab like those two end sticks and pull it along. But get it orientated. When you start out, put your branches with any curve facing up, and then about midpoint, branches curve face down, so it's kind of like this big claw holding all the loose stuff together. All right, I get on to it and we'll see. Now, as you go along, resist the temptation to save all the little stuff for the end and putting it on the top. You want all this little stuff in the middle of the pile, because if it's on top, as you walk this stack and it be going across the ground, the little stuff will tend to fall off. And that's why towards the end of building this stretcher, or whatever you want to call it, a drag, it's probably a more official name, that's why you want the last branches to be curved in. You might even step on the pile a little bit. If you step on the pile, it helps interlace the branches and get them a little bit tighter together so that you don't lose very much or anything on your way to a dragging that stuff across your yard. Alrighty there, built a nice little drag. One thing to always be careful of is don't put so much on it you can't drag it. But this is the way to move a lot of brush and limb material, trees, whatever, after a storm, or if you're pruning your yard, whatever. You got a pile to move and you need to move it a long way. This is the way to do it. You notice the stick holding all the loose stuff, all them little branches and such that are stuck in the middle. You see how I've kind of just tucked things in as I went along. Nothing hard. This is not a brainless job, okay? You got to have a bit of a brain to do it. But you just stick them together, and as you go, you just kind of tuck some of the ends where they seem to want to wander off into the bottom of the pile. And from this point, I can basically take these two branches here and haul this whole pile the whole distance. I might want to take and come along this way, tuck that under one arm and grab them two. Make life a little simpler. But that is how you haul a large amount of brush from point A to point B rather quickly without making a gazillion trips and wearing yourself out. Little PS, as you can see, dragged it down where it needs to go, and it will end up going over there. That's critter habitat. Runs over a creek, so all kinds of newts and frogs, you name it. But the main point is, when you do this properly, you'll learn after a few times how much you see got dropped. Hardly none. And that's what I'm talking about. Move a large quantity of brush in a short amount of time, doing it yourself. Have fun.